Good afternoon from beautiful downtown Sebastian, Florida. This is Roy with another edition of The Right Has Left. Thanks for coming along on this edition of this podcast. We have got a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's go ahead and get right into it. The first thing that we need to chat about is Judge Tanya Chutkan. As most of you are probably fully aware by now, if you're not, she ruled against the 14 blue states that filed against a civil suit against Donald Trump and Elon Musk to stop all of this purging that's been going on with the recent mass firings of all the government officials. And she denied their case because she said at this point in time there's just not enough evidence. However, having said that, she did say, I'm keeping a very strong, watchful eye on Donald Trump and Elon Musk and see what's going to be happening there. And once there is any solid evidence, she is going to go to bat for the Democratic Party. Now, she's the same lady, as you're fully aware of, that handled Donald Trump's first case with the insurrection, and she did quite well, and getting charges filed against him. And another unprecedented purge of the military's senior officials, and this is scary. Donald Trump went ahead and again fired another top official, and this official is, you guessed it, General Brown, and he's the chief of the U.S. Navy, and the vice chief of the Air Force also was fired by Trump's appointee for the Secretary of State. And this is just, again, scary, folks. Now, what do you think is going on here with all these firings of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, especially Charles Brown, and then him being replaced by one of Donald Trump's little cronies, and he was replaced by Air Force Lieutenant General John Dan Raisin Kane, and this guy is actually retired, but for some reason Trump put him back into this position. And the reason he's doing this is because he wants to create a military that is going to do his bidding. And when you get these kind of people in place, it can be absolutely scary. And I'm not kidding. When you put people who are retired, or you put people in that are going to, basically do whatever Donald Trump wants, and you start hearing these things like, well, I want to make Canada our 51st state, and I really think that we need Greenland, and I really think I can do things with the Gaza Strip and rebuild it. And you get these military people in here that will probably move troops at his beck and call, and it can be scary, And he's got Pete Hegseth in there now, who, kisses Trump's hind end left and right, and he'll be appointing some other high-level positions. I mean, so far. And this is what's bad about this, folks. So far, they have fired this guy who happens to be a black guy. They got rid of a woman, because both of them kind of, stood for diversity in the military. The woman, by incidentally, was the Air Force lady, and it's just crazy. By the way, her name was Admiral Lisa Franchetti. She was the chief of the Navy, so I apologize. I said Air Force. It's actually Navy. So I don't know. To me, this kind of stuff is absolutely nuts when you're messing with the military. And I don't know how else to actually put this. So other than he doesn't like diversity, and he may be changing the military around so he can maybe be making some military moves. Now, whether you agree with that or don't agree with that, I don't know what else to say. But it is a strong signal from the Trump administration that he's outlawed diversity. He will not have anything of it, and inclusion. And anybody that does support diversity, they're going to be fired. And anybody that doesn't agree to what he has to say, they're going to fire them too. And the Secretary of State and Trump will do that. Another quick note here: the U.S. Marshals recently deputized Elon Musk and his Doge team, making them kind of a private security team, so they'll be protected by federal law as they continue the purge Washington, D.C. and all the departments. Again, what the hell's going on here? So they figure if they make them, U.S. Marshals, that will just kind of protect them, and they can go on and do what they want to do. I don't know. It just never stops. In other happenings this past week, Donald Trump called Ukraine's Zelensky a dictator, and Mike Johnson says that they're not going to in any way fund any more support to Ukraine unless Ukraine goes ahead and concedes to Russia. And as you know, as the last time Trump was in office, him and Putin are becoming buddy-buddy, and even with peace agreements, they're cutting out Ukraine from any involvement in the peace agreement. It's just between Russia and the United States, what they want to do with Ukraine. And all these poor people in Ukraine that have suffered, just like in the Gaza Strip, they no longer are going to be having our support unless Zelensky bows down to whatever Putin wants. And folks, again, this is just absolutely disgusting. And with the Republicans in charge, both the House and the Senate, and using, poverty and all this destruction as a pawn game, and making Zelensky do what the bidding of Putin before the United States comes back and helps is absolutely it's just uncalled for. I don't know how else to put it. It's just crazy. Now let's take a look at another piece of news here, folks. You know this lady, the governor of New York. Well, Trump was basically screaming, "I am the king," for stopping, what the story behind this is the transit toll funding that Kathy has been using to, take care of the funding that goes on with her toll roads. And, there was a toll in place during peak travel periods when folks go to work. And Trump was claiming, massive victory that he was able to take care of all this. And how did he do it? He just said, by act of my administration, the toll fees are going to go away, and I am able to do that without any answers to anybody about how I'm going to do it. So here's Kathy holding up a picture of Trump, which Time magazine happened to put on the cover because he claimed himself that he is the king. And there you go. Well, isn't that a great picture? I am the king, and congestion pricing is dead. So what do you think about that? Now, again, long live King Trump. And Kathy Hochul she was just beside herself. What she's basically telling Trump is, go ahead, I'll see you in court. These tolls are used to keep the byways and highways in the state of New York in repair. Those tolls are only in place when people are at their peak travel period. And, it serves a purpose. And nobody in the state of New York has ever really complained about it. But, again, Doge is getting involved with this. And what's even more bizarre is here in the state of Florida, we have exactly the same thing. We have toll roads, and we have lanes that, can be used by commuters to get to work faster, and there is a fee to pay for that. So I'm curious if Trump is now going to look at the state of Florida and take Ron DeSantis to task and do exactly the same thing. Now, in other news, again, Trump is continuing to more cost-cutting drives that he wants to drastically reduce the federal workforce by more than 6,000, and this time it is in the Internal Revenue Service, just in time for tax season. 6,700 to be exact employees are expected to be fired, and it's just crazy. Also, the Pentagon is planning to release a 5,400 probationary workers layoff starting next week, and 1,000 Park Service employees are also are going to be let go, and that's about 5% of the workforce, according to CBS News. Now, I'm originally from Wyoming, and when you're letting go all of these Park Service employees, including seasonal park workers employees, and the next time you go to a national park, especially this summer, I don't want to hear one person complaining that, the lodging rooms are in disrepair, the highways are in disrepair, or how come the garbage collection hasn't been picked up, or how come I can't find a Park Service employee to help me with a tour of some trails or mountain climbing. You know why? Because Trump fired them all. And so there you go. This goes all the way down to U.S. Forest Service employees, game and fish employees. You think this is all great and fine and dandy, but you'll be the first to complain if you find services are subpar next time you go to a national park, or you go on a BLM land, or you go anywhere else. Now, I grew up in Jackson, Wyoming, and 97% of the land there is federal land. And between the Forest Service and the National Park Service and the BLM, and you get this many people being let go, services are going to decline rapidly. And, you think that's all fine and dandy, but if you're the first to go there and you find, you can't, the roads are in disrepair, or there's mudslides, or the lodging is down, or you can't find somebody to give you an interpretive, tour of a landmark or something because they don't have anybody to do it, you're going to be the first to bitch, aren't you? Yeah, of course you are. But that's different, isn't it? And with the IRS laying off 1,500 people right in the middle of tax season, how many Americans want their tax refunds? How many Americans maybe have filed amended tax returns? How many Americans were due a tax return and are still looking for it? Well, gee, there's nobody there to help you. But that's okay, because Doge is out there cleaning up the mess, and you're fine with that, aren't you? No, you're not. So it's just crazy. One other thing that is going on that I find really bizarre is the Associated Press has been barred from the White House press room, or Air Force One, because they refuse to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. So the Associated Press, which is one of the leading, press agencies in the United States, and also globally, they make up, not only the United States but other countries. Trump is throwing a sixth grade tantrum here because they won't call it the Gulf of America. And it just never ends. It just never ends. This is sixth grade playground bully stuff. Yeah. I myself, I've just always called it the Gulf. I'm not, yes, I've called it the Gulf of Mexico, but most people, locals around here in Florida, just say the Gulf. We don't call it the Gulf of America, the Gulf of Mexico. We just say, hey, I'm going over to the Gulf, and we know what we're talking about. And to me, it's a First Amendment right of anybody if they want to still call it the Gulf of Mexico. I don't care what Google or what Trump wants to put on there. It's still just the Gulf. So why is this such a big deal? And why are you throwing the AP out just because they won't say the Gulf of America? Again, I just flat out don't get the childish of all this. And I don't even know why he called it Gulf of America anyway, when a good portion of the bodies of water runs along the country of Mexico. Again, this is just a power thing, like, hey, look at me, King Trump. I can do anything I want with executive privileges because the U.S. Supreme Court says I can. And I'm going to change up the military. And if I want to invade Canada, so I can make them a 51st state, or if I want to take my troops into Gaza so I can buy up all that land and put hotels on it, I am, by God, going to do it, and nobody's going to stop me. I don't need Congress. I don't need the House of Representatives. I don't need the Senate. I am Donald Trump, the king. And what I want to do, I will do. Now, this also goes to the fact when, speaking of waste of tax dollars money, what about when Trump, took his little beast, that's the Trump, presidential limousine, and drove around the tracks at Daytona Beach. Wasn't that wonderful? All of our millions of dollars for security and stuff for Donald Trump, and he takes the beast and drives it around the Daytona 500 track, waving at people. Oh, look at me, man! Isn't this cool? Yeah, I'm the president of the United States, and I'm going to take a couple laps around the Daytona 500 track. Yes, sirree, bub. And then he flew Air Force One around that too. And every time he goes down to Mar-a-Lago, millions of dollars are spent with our tax dollars protecting the president. But that's okay. That's Donald Trump. He can do that. Another thing that's going on, telehealth. Trump is going to stop that as of April 1st. Medicare has traditionally paid for telehealth. It helps millions of disabled Americans, including seniors who can't get out of their homes. They can use telehealth to get their prescriptions refilled and things like that. No more. Yeah, I want to stop telehealth too. If you can't get out of your room to go see a doctor in person, to hell with you. Again, this is what telehealth did for millions of America. He's complaining that because it was done during COVID and that's all over and the Democrats put that in place, I'm going to back change it just because I don't want the Democrats to take credit for anything. So there goes telehealth. Another thing that he wants to do is take the United States Post Office and put it under the Department of Commerce and perhaps privatize the post office. Again, if you do that, the post office for over 120 years has always been able to deliver mail to our rural areas at no cost and be able to get mail out to a lot of different places. These are all civil service employees. Again, thousands and thousands of them. And if you privatize the post office to where it's a for-profit organization, what the heck do you think is going to happen to people who, depend on mail? And some company will not subsidize taking mail out to rural areas if the weather's bad. We're not going to deliver your mail, or we're going to jack up the prices now for stamps to be maybe $3 a piece. Again, this is what's going on, folks. And the last thing I want to talk about on this podcast is just recently the database for law enforcement agencies who maybe have committed a crime or have had reprimands. Well, that's now gone. So this all of a sudden vanished. So if somebody's going to be hiring a cop and they had access to this database before, to where they could find out if this law enforcement officer they want to hire has any bad records, or if they were disciplined or fired from a different department, that's no longer available. If you're a bad cop, hey, welcome to my department. I don't know if if you've done anything bad. I can't find out. I guess we'll just have to throw the dice and give you a hire and see what happens. So, again, bad cop, you may be able just to find a job anywhere because the department now has no database to go back and research which other departments you've worked for or whether you've done anything good or bad. Trump, he says, well, this is to protect cops have gotten a bad rap, and we don't need this database around. Again, it was created by the Biden administration, so therefore it's got to be bad because the Biden administration created it. So, I don't mind having a few bad cops out there. Go ahead and beat the crap out of a few people. Well, it doesn't bother me any. They deserve it anyway. So, again, this is the week, folks, of Doge and Donald Trump and his other cronies out there who just are having a gay old time, Doge and his team are now official U.S. Marshals, deputies, and they can go where they want. And Donald Trump is having a great time just, firing everybody and redoing the military leaders to where they can go ahead and do what I want you to do. And it's just absolutely crazy. And now you've got cops who maybe have racial problems or have committed crimes. There's no way for anybody to really verify that anymore, or using excessive force. That database has been taken away by Trump because it's just what we got going on here, folks. So that is your podcast for this week from The Right Has Left. And yes, the right has left, hasn't it? So until our next episode for next week, this is Roy, and thank you for joining me on this podcast. And go ahead and list your comments on what you think is going on this past week. Is it good? Is it bad? Or do you believe the right has left? I think Ronald Reagan is rolling over in his grave.